Doc, the Clippers fell in Game 1 to the Jazz on Saturday. Not only did LA lose at home, but the Jazz didn't have Rudy Gobert for basically the entire game after injuring his left knee. Gobert does hope to return at some point during this series. Stephen A., if the Clippers lose this series, should Steve Ballmer clean house?
He should consider it. I will never be a proponent of Doc Rivers not coaching because I think he's an exceptional coach, and more importantly, I think he's a high-end motivator. I do have questions about him as the executive, as the GM assembling this roster, but I don't have any questions about his coaching ability. But when you talk about cleaning house, here's what I mean by this, Max. No one is safe. You got to do what you got to do to change over the team because this team is going nowhere. If the Los Angeles Clippers lose to a Rudy Gobert-less Utah Jazz, that basically means that CP3, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Jamal Crawford, J.J. Redick, and the crew lost to Gordon Hayward and Joe Johnson. That is unacceptable. And I love me some Joe Johnson. This man that everybody called Big Shot Bob and, you know, Chauncey with the Big Shot or whatever. This dude, Joe Johnson, you definitely want the ball in his hands with the game on the line. But you think Melo's mellow. Joe Johnson gives new meaning to Melo. He's been mellow throughout his career. He could ball, but he seems to be in cruise control a lot of times, just so smooth. Gordon Hayward is somebody, if Utah doesn't keep in, I think he'll end up in Boston. He's special. They should not beat the Los Angeles Clippers. If the Los Angeles Clippers lose to them without Rudy Gobert, there is no reason why either CP3 or Blake Griffin, in my opinion, it should be Blake Griffin, should be gone. It is just that simple.
Gobert, their best or second best player, you know, along with Hayward, absolutely right. It's not enough to blow up the team if they get bounced in the first round.
It would be bad.
I mean, excuse me for a second,
be bad,
but
man.
I did radio in L.A. for 5.5 years. Do people understand this is by so far the golden age of the Clippers and by so far the worst period in the history of the Lakers? And the Clippers have barely won any more playoff series than the Lakers through all this. Like, this was the Clippers' window, forget to win a championship, to make inroads in the L.A. market. And they can't even do that. Even after Donald Sterling's gone, you replace him with a billionaire who's happy to spend his money and do the right thing by the team, bring in Doc Rivers as the coach, but then stupidly make him also the GM where, sorry, he hasn't done a good enough job because I don't question his coaching ability. Not only do you have to blow it up, you need to, like, try them for crimes against humanity at The Hague. You need to, like, I mean, something bad has to happen to this group. This is unbelievable. You not only have a deeper bench than you've had in recent years, look, Blake should be a superstar. Stephen A., you're right. This year, it hasn't panned out that way. But early in the season, he looked like it. At various times in his career, he looked like a top 5 or 6 or 7 player in the NBA. It appears that he's regressed. Chris Paul has that, as Marcellus Wiley says, that championship cologne on him. It ain't showing up. DeAndre Jordan's an all-star caliber center. Also, like, you have all that, plus a dead-eye shooter at the 2, plus a championship coach, and you can get bounced in the first round by a team without one of their 2 best players. If that happens, absolutely you got to bust him up. And shame on Doc Rivers for one of the things that makes him great is his stubborn belief in his guys. I get that. But when it's so clear you ain't got a shot to get out of the West and you don't make any moves at the trade deadline when you have a chance to really cash in on some of those trade chits and instead hold on for some improbable run, if you are to get knocked out in the first round and now guys start opting out, that's one of the worst GM jobs of all time.
I can't say anything. I can't say anything. They got to win this series.
All right.
They got to win this series.
Real quick before we get into Final Take, we asked you guys on Twitter, do you see anyone beating the Cavs in the East? 38% said they will take an L, 62% saying they're winning the East. Your thoughts?
Please, they're going to win the East. There's nothing to talk about there. Washington, as far as I'm concerned, only got a chance. Only one with a chance.
You love some Washington. Max?
Yeah, they should win the East because I believe in LeBron, and his brand is I always make it to the finals, and I've bought into that after the miracle of last year, winning down 3-1 on the road against a 73-win team. But sometimes you got to look past the brand and look at what's actually happening. They can't play defense. Even against the Pacers, they were hapless. Either that changes or they don't make the finals.
They'll change that. They'll change that.
It would have been much more lopsided last year, though. 38% thinking they're going to take an L. Like Max
There are
says, he
tough
gives you
I
every day.
watched,
L's.
Max remembers this. I watched the Los Angeles Lakers lose game 1 of an NBA Finals by 40 to the Celtics and won the series. This is LeBron James we're talking about. Everybody pump the brakes. It'll be all right.
All right, let's leave it there. Stephen A. is closing out the show. It is Final Take. It is the Steelers. It's a must-have conversation. Mr. Smith, the floor is yours.